This month we're going to take a look at some fruit on some of our native plants, starting with a spikenard right behind the Jensen Center, right behind my office. This is a huge plant. This is about almost 5 feet tall. I'm sure people think it's a shrub when they see it during the season, but it dies back to the ground over the winter, grows back up the next year. But here it is starting to color its cluster of berries. Most of them are still green, but some of them are going to a dark red, and they'll end up being much darker than this when they're done. And various birds and creatures, squirrels, chipmunks will eat these. Spikenard is in the ginseng family. And again, it's just huge, impressive, coarse textured perennial. That's great in a garden too. But we have a bunch of them behind the Jensen Center. There are a few of them on campus too that we planted. Great plant, and especially nice in late summer, early fall when the fruit starts to color. Spikenard. This is our native sumac, Staghorn sumac, called Staghorn because the new growth has this fuzz like the velvet on a deer's or a stag's horn. So Staghorn sumac, large compound leaves. But the females, they're separate male and female plants. The females develop this cluster of kind of fuzzy, velvety red berries this time of year. And they'll hang on the plant well into winter, even through winter. Birds pick at them slowly. They don't devour them right away. But they're very attractive. And I read somewhere once that you could harvest these when they're first starting to develop, before they even turn red in summer, and steep them and make a good lemonade. Never tried it, but I've heard that. Anyway, the berry clusters on Staghorn sumac. This is Snowberry. Looks a lot like a honeysuckle. It's in the honeysuckle family, but this is a nice, low-growing native shrub, like shady areas. Opposite leaves like honeysuckles, but clearly it gets its name from the white berries that develop later in summer, and they'll hang on the plant in some cases all winter until something finally eats it. But these bright white, not many things around here have white berries. This is one of them, Snowberry. Nice little low-growing native shrub for shady areas. Right next to the Snowberry, we have some Solomon's plume, also called false Solomon seal. And some of the berries are already eaten by something, but they turn red like this eventually. But before they turn red, they're kind of this light pink with these red speckles. Really pretty if you get up close. But they eventually mature to red, and I think chipmunks, squirrels, birds eat them slowly. They'll be gone by winter. But these are the little berry clusters on Solomon's plume. Well, this is one of my favorites for fruit clusters or fruit. This is blue cohosh or cohosh. You see, hear it both ways. And these pretty blue, and they have a bit of a bloom, like grapes have that waxy coating on them. It's called a bloom. You can rub it off. You have a waxy bloom on the fruits. But these beautiful blue berries, they'll stay off in all winter. And I collected from these plants, I have to confess, years ago, enough to fill a little bowl in our kitchen. And they still look today like they were picked yesterday. They just don't decay. Also a nice garden plant. It's a little bit ratty now because it's been such a dry season here the last month and a half. But it's a nice garden perennial too. Stays nice all summer. Nice foliage, but really comes into its own when the fruit matures in late summer. And again, it'll often stay right through winter. Blue cohosh. This is Baneberry or doll's eye. It's Baneberry because it's deadly poisonous, actually, the berries, so hence the common name Baneberry. These aren't quite ripe yet because they'll get brighter white, but it's called doll's eyes too because it looks a little bit like a porcelain doll's eye. Nice foliage. Again, it's a nice garden plant. Poisonous, as I said, but something eats these. Squirrels, chipmunks, birds, something eats these. They don't eat them all at once. They just pick a couple off, and the next day there'll be maybe one more gone, then one more gone. So the creatures know not to eat too many of them, but people can't eat them at all, or shouldn't. So white baneberry or doll's eye. There's also a red species, red baneberry, which is a little trickier to have in your garden because people are much more likely, especially kids, to eat a red berry than a white berry. The dominant thing in bloom right now in Door County, in a lot of places, is Canada Goldenrod, which is what we have right here. It's a native plant. There are several goldenrods native in Door County. This is the most common one. And the reason I want to mention it is a couple things. First of all, it's a great pollinator. There are bees on the ones back here. So it's a great pollinator plant. But people often blame this for their hay fever. They think this is what causes their stuffiness and sore throat and sneezing this time of year. It's not this. It can't be this because this is bee pollinated. It's not wind blown. The main culprit this time of year for people with hay fever is ragweed, which is also a native plant, but very, very weedy. And but the flowers aren't very showy. But it's along all the roadsides right now. But people blame this because this is the one that's obviously in bloom. But goldenrod cannot cause hay fever because the pollen doesn't blow in the wind. It's bee pollinated. Here's one of our other native goldenrods. This is zigzag goldenrod, which actually grows more in the shade than the other ones. And a lot of shady plants have broader leaves to capture more sunlight. So this has a leaf that doesn't look like a goldenrod leaf at all, at least our other native goldenrods. Like right here, which is, just compare the width of the leaves there between Canada goldenrod and zigzag goldenrod. But those same yellow flowers in a cluster, terminal cluster. And it's called zigzag goldenrod because, and a lot of plants do this, this just happened to get the name, it's zigs or zags at each leaf node. So zigzag goldenrod in full bloom, another one that cannot cause hay fever because it's bee pollinated.